How good is breakfast cereal? Ooh. I used to be a massive hog on the breakfast cereal. I ploughed through bowls of the stuff every day for decades. As a cynical, hard-bitten journalist, generally able to spot a lie from 20 miles away, I was slightly disappointed when I found out that I'd been suckered by the big sugar and the advertising industry. I'd been sold a monumental, lifelong lie. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, they used to say on the telly. And Kellogg's and Sanitarium and so on, the breakfast cereal manufacturers, cornflakes, Cocoa Pops, Fruit Loops, and so on. They were full of vitamins and minerals. They had riboflavin, whatever that is. Sounded good for you? And how about Nutri-Grain, the Iron Man food? Eat some of that stuff, it'll make you an Iron Man. And so I did. I ate bowls of the stuff year in, year out, thinking it was good for me. Never considered that these sports stars and happy, healthy people on the telly might have been bullshitting. Or maybe they, too, had been conned. Everything in moderation, of course. But not being a diet or a health freak, I was late to this party. And I found out a few years ago that brekkie cereal was just basically sugar, processed and tarted up with some chemicals to give it a nice colour. And here we were, way back in the day, putting sugar on the breakfast cereal, sugar on the sugar. So it was during an investigation about 6 years ago into Dietitians Association of Australia, the peak body of health professionals advising Australians on good diet, and other peak bodies in the medical field, which had been infiltrated by big sugar. So it was that the penny dropped. We discovered documents showing that big sugar, namely Nestle, Kellogg's, Sanitarium and so on, were sponsors of the Dietitians Association of Australia and had quiet deals with the Dietitians Association. And so it was that they were promoting sketchy so-called low-carb diets. A bit of sugar was okay, accompanied by glossy pics of things like chocolate biscuits, and the trade press was on the same song sheet promoting this material. The message was that it was all right to eat big chunks of chocolate because, like any other media, of course, the headlines and the pics are as far as people generally get. And that was the messaging. About a year later, after we started this thing, the Dietitians Australia took their sponsors off, at least their websites. I'm sure there's still some stuff going on there in terms of the world of influence, but we had a victory. Not being a diabetic personally and still being prone to eating big chunks of chocolate, that might be okay, for this reporter at least. But the world has been hit many years ago with an epidemic of type 2 diabetes, T2D. Millions of people jab themselves with insulin shots every day. Insulin, it's the answer, they say, to diabetes. And insulin is big business. Now, the investigation we've just published on the MW website shows big sugar activist and economist RORY Robertson, who's been fighting these guys for years, saying, "Why do I persist?" to quote Rory. "I suspect it's because my mother and her two sisters and my own sister were all country nurses, and I grew up in a remote location, often with Indigenous kids who now bear the brunt of this T2D plague. The amputations, the people going blind. It may be," says Rory, "the biggest scandal in Australian medical history. People don't need Novo Nordisk's insulin, they just need a low-carb diet." Carbs being sugar, more or less. Now, what scandal is this? Well, for years, Rory had been chasing Sydney University about flaws in its academic research pertaining to sugar, namely into what they call low GI diets, low glycemic index diets, and the failure of the university to ensure that conflicts of interest were disclosed in their research, in their published materials. Because, of course, this low GI diet has had a profound effect on the medical and health sectors in Australia. And doctors, as much as I respect doctors and love the doctors, they're an easy sell for drug people, for drug salespeople. The spiel is it's got to be the right kind of sugar. That's okay. Now, RORY had advised the university on numerous occasions that there was a conflict of interest between university academics promoting low GI and Novo Nordisk, the multinational drug company which sells insulin. The uni PR approach has been to rubbish Robertson personally, say he's a crank, say the claims are old, deny they've failed to police their own integrity and compliance policies, and hope that no other media picks up the story. And the reason, of course, that other media don't pick up the story is that, just watch the TV, soft drink, alcohol, confectionery, it all abounds in the ads coming on every few minutes in the programming. They don't want to see stories saying sugar causes diabetes or sugar's not good for you. That's why they're happy smiley faces. That's Big Sugar, but Big Pharma is similarly invested in this scam. Pharma loves diabetes because unlike other diseases which might be cured quickly, which might be treated more quickly, this is a disease for life. It's product sales for life. It's Big Pharma heaven locked in. They don't want people giving up sugar lifestyles or they couldn't flog as much insulin. End of story. But you can see the problems here. Overall, this is just part of the decline of academic institutions once so trusted and now so reliant on commercial income, so tied into commercial arrangements all over the shop, from big business, from the business schools to the law schools to medicine and engineering, consultancy gigs for the academics, the science, accounting. You'd have to study Latin and classical Greek to avoid corporate influence at university these days. And they still, despite their army of public relations operatives, refuse to just fess up and say, we messed up. Yes, this should have been disclosed. As for breakfast cereal, well, that sector is actually on the decline. I was a latecomer to this realisation, this dawning of understanding and knowledge about sugar and breakfast cereals. But consumers have been on it for some time, so that means the sale of breakfast cereals is in decline. Kellogg's and so on is a bit of spotted bother there. And generally, people are more knowledgeable these days when it comes to carbs and sugar. We never knew what carbs were back in the day. The risks associated with too much sugar. For many, however, who did not twig to the big lie, it came too late. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and comment in the section below and contribute to public interest journalism if you can afford it.